Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this UX talk. It's a pleasure for me. I'm Benedetta Grazian, I'm a UX designer for Grand Studio, and today we are going to talk a little bit about what Grand Studio is doing to innovate the automotive system and the mobility system from the UX point of view. First, I wanted to introduce a little bit myself. So I am recently graduated from TU Delft, a scientific university in the Netherlands. And 1 year ago, I got the diploma, as you can see here, alone, because of course it was a pandemic. So I had to graduate, as most of you also will graduate from home. And then I got to get my diploma there 1 year ago. Around 1 year ago. And then after my graduation, which for my graduation thesis, I got for the first time into the automotive sector, studying a project with autonomous driving. I got the chance to enter in this automotive sector, which before I never explored. And I found it very interesting because it's an where technology plays a really important role nowadays, and where me as a UX designer, I could experiment a lot, because of course we know the traditional automotive field is very strict, and it's mostly styling of interior and exteriors of cars, while a perspective of UX design is completely different. So after my graduation, which I really enjoyed from the UX perspective in a company where there were only engineers, basically, I decided to continue with the automotive industry, and I found Grand Studio, which is an innovative mobility research and automotive design studio placed in Turin, where automotive was born together with Modena, of course, and here, yes, and here we define design and develop not only cars but future mobility means. So our scope is not only designing styling of cars, but of course also the whole mobility system. So here in the project, you can also see some trolleys and other kind of mobility, everything that has to, that deals with mobility. We are based in Turin, as I told you, and this is the overview of the studio. And our team is around 60 people, including designers, engineers, urbanists, and developers. And Grand Studio's clients include a lot of famous brands like Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Stellantis, of course, Philips, but not only automotive brands, but also, for example, Philips, which is innovation, Easy Walker, the trolley that I showed before, and a lot of clients all over the globe. And the capabilities of these studios are not only automotive and styling itself, but it's a more, it covers, let's say, the whole spectrum of the design process of mobility. So our focus was performance design and everything that has to deal with aerodynamics and all of that. And one of the symbols of this is the Lara Stradale, which was made in 2017. Here you can see one of the sketches. So of course, also here UX plays a role, but it's not the focus. While in general automotive design, for example, the Lightyear, I don't know if you have ever seen this car, is a car that is a family car, so for families, but has a really nice innovation on the roof, and on the top part of the car, because it has some solar panels. So the scope here was to charge under the sign while moving. So every project that we are doing, we are trying to approach from an innovative approach. And then, of course, one of our capabilities is also UX and UI design. So what is happening not only inside the cars with the screens, the touch screens, the controllers, and all of that, but also the communication and interaction that the user has with the vehicle. And one of the symbols is Comma, which is a recent project, which unfortunately for now I cannot really share a lot because it's under protection. But we are trying to switch our mindset from a UX point of view and studying the society from a society where cars are probably too big for our reality, and we are trying to understand what can be the future of this reality. And then another topic that we are always researching is the smart mobility design. So understanding not only the cars and the traditional vehicles, but also understanding what can be the future of it and how these will influence, or we are going to influence in the future. So one of our projects about this topic was Mobject. So nowadays you're going to see in Milan as well, in Turin, but everywhere the scooters. And these Mobject project is another project that we developed internally, and approaches the same problem in another way. So here you can see Mobjects are these autonomous robot that moves around the pedestrian areas and create also new interaction between people. So our approach is not only focusing on the single vehicle design, the columns that you can see here, which is a more traditional approach where you can see car designers or designers of bicycles, buses, and every product is approached separately. But in our studio, we are trying to understand what will be the system in the future and also in the present, understanding what UX design plays a role in this system, in this mobility system. Our process starts from a big jump into the future. With this diagram, I want to explain a little bit our process, even though every project is different, so it can be approached in different ways. But more or less, this is, let's say, the process that we are trying to follow for every project. We try to jump into the future, understanding and researching what can be the future trends and understanding the vision concept of the future, and then through some loops of UX research, style research, and development, we are trying to deliver products which are closer to the present. And for the UX UI design process in Grand Studio, we start from a research phase where we understand user behavior, society, and the current market, and then we go for a brand UX definition. So because we are an agency, so we have to first understand what is the brand UX DNA, we call it, to understand deeply what the brands wants to deliver as values and with their vehicles. And then we pass to the design and development phase, where the UX design together with the styling is overlapping, and we try to merge, let's say, the expertise of UX designer and understanding of the users with the styling of the vehicles to deliver then a digital or physical mock-up. We can call it phygital mock-up, and this is more or less our standard process. Okay, so in the automotive industry, the UX UI designer is seen as a HMI designer usually, because of course, with the new technologies, we have a lot of screens and a lot of interaction that are constantly changing in the interior of the cars. But in Grand Studio, we are trying to first merge this part with the technology, which of course are there and are still constantly developing, and also with the behavior, so the use that real people are making inside the vehicles. And then also understanding the brand DNA to deliver a product which is specific for those brands. So understanding the why of that brand and the values that is sitting behind. And then, of course, the how, so how we can, through the UX, the experience that the users are making, how we can differentiate those brands and those values, and then delivering something, the product, which is close to the market and the technology. So for our design process, we are using many different methodologies, which can vary from user observations, surveys, questionnaires, qualitative interviews, for example, and then we try to define with some user journeys, for example, or schemes. We try to map the insights that we get from the research part and trying to define what can be the use cases and the direction to take for the UX project. And then, of course, we have to always match with the styling, because we know that in automotive, the first appeal, the first sight is also playing a big role. So here you can see some sketches that merges both the style integration with the UX, pure UX content. And then, of course, because we are always trying to innovate our process, now we are focusing a lot on VR and how we can optimize the process of the traditional automotive process, which takes a lot of time of development with VR. So we are trying to make 3D model and UX integration through physical and digital prototyping together with VR. And this can be even more optimized, because with the VR is easier to change something and to test it out with people, with clients, but also within us, within the team. And then, of course, we have a big part of UX work, which includes the screens that you can see inside the vehicles. So the wireframes, the UI, and trying to always test it out with clients. Here you can see a user flow of the interior central display of the car. And then here you can see very quickly what kind of controllers we are trying to develop. Yes, the development part. But today I want to present you a little bit more in detail this project, which is a recent project called RESET. It's a research project that was born in Grand Studio this year, and we started from resetting the traditional automotive design. So we wanted to have our mind completely blank and trying to discover a vehicle from a UX driven mindset, experimenting with new technologies and also new tools to deliver new mobility means. So here for this project, we started from our future trend database, where we collect all the insights on society, context, technology, and also materials. And then we have this database where we cluster for example, interior, exterior, HMI, and we cluster all the insights that we get to have a big brain of knowledge that we can use for each project, and then selecting the topics that we want for those specific projects. We cluster and we start analyzing what is the context, what is the direction, and start defining what can be the product for that project. And for the reset, we have done a user journey where we mapped the behavior of people and what can be a totally different approach to automotive design. And thanks to our internal tool, the Digify, we call it, it's a machine that we built internally, where we can try out different configuration of new vehicles, or even we can upload with the software. We can upload packages of current cars in the market, and we can try out different positioning, different configurations of the steering wheel, of the pedals, of the seats. And we, for this specific project, we started from those from this tool, because we wanted to experiment new way of living the vehicle. So here is an introduction of the Digify, which is a mixed reality. So we have the physical and also the VR, where you can upload some interior or exterior also of the car, and see and experience what the interior looks like inside your design. So yes, here is the idea behind. So you can change the position of every element and experience with the VR what is happening inside those vehicles. And then another important part was the materials, color and trim. So here we wanted to experiment and understanding what the fabrics of the interior or the material of the exterior can be for the future, and what kind of interaction these materials can bring inside a vehicle. And then we started playing around with those materials and understanding what kind of configuration, using also small mannequins, understanding what position and what kind of materials is more convenient and more comfortable to have inside this new vehicle. And together with, of course, the VR and the Digify, we try to experiment a lot during this project, what can be the inside of this new vehicle as a living space. And then we tried to experiment with new shapes that are not really conventional for the traditional automotive industry, and also, changing the seats and creating new interactions of the back seats and the front seats, and trying to play also a lot during the process. So here you can see the configuration, the final configuration of the vehicle that was created, and then of course always trying with the Digify to have new configurations. Then also, of course, we played a lot with phygital controllers and interactive smart surfaces that not only enables better communication with the vehicles, but also with the exterior, for example, with the outdoor communication. So we started from smart surfaces and experimenting with VR, understanding what kind of communication is needed, and in the future, how the vehicle is seen no more as an object, but more as a part of a system which is super technological and also smart, and can communicate also with the people around. So yes, and also of course connecting those elements with the digital systems that we have now. So smartphones or even your home, and start, for example, approaching your car with the phone, or making the car communicating directly with for example, with your garage at home, and we mapped all the behaviors. Yes, so to conclude, let's say I wanted to show you a little bit our process from this perspective of UX design, and starting a new approach to the automotive sector, which is very traditional. But we are trying a little bit to make a small revolution, starting from the UX perspective, from a user point of view, and delivering projects which are not only based on the interior displays that you can see inside the cars, but approaching it in a more organic way, more holistic way. So experimenting not only with the touch screens, but also with controllers and the exterior lighting and the whole system that plays a role inside the vehicles. Here you can see even the screen, of course, is most of our work is working for smart screen and smart controllers. But let's say our focus would be to play a lot with different materials, understanding what can be the interactions with new materials and new technologies. Yeah. If you have any question about this, I'm just scrolling around to show you a little bit of the project. But yeah, this was my presentation. Thank you so much. If you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Benedetta. Virtual applause for you, and also from here you can. Thank you, because let's say you gave us exactly what we were expecting. So this is how the traditional vision of UX, or sorry, of car design, is evolving, integrating UX, let's say expertise component, but also potentiality. No, for the year for students, have you seen that the methodology are almost the same? What changes, let's say, the context in which we apply the same let's say, methodology and sensibility. About questions, I have we received a question by Davide Monti. Say, have you ever tried using haptic systems to improve the viewer experience during the design process? So, what about the? I have seen some textile, some.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Davide. So yes, we are actually, this is a hot topic because we are now approaching it, but we have done already something together with Haptic and VR. So I don't know if you have seen in the presentation that controller. It's a door. It's a controller that stays in the door panel, and where. Maybe I can share my screen again. I will show you.
Unfortunately, with this configuration, we lose you, so we see only the screen. But okay.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to highlight that controller. It's this one here.
Yeah.
So actually, recently we have some software developer joining our team because, of course, we want to test everything that we are designing. So we need software developer that can make this connection real. So we actually built this module and we tested with VR. So the module was only a touch screen, which gives some haptic feedback. But then with the VR, you can see actually the UI on it. Yes. So haptic for now is a really interesting topic because we have seen also buttons with ultrasounds, which are not there, but you can feel it with tactile. But we are now trying to connect with companies, with suppliers that can show us these new technologies. For now, we are constantly experimenting. We are constantly researching for suppliers that can actually deliver newest technologies and that we can try in our studio with the Digify. So yes, but we want to explore even more than we are doing now.